Where do you find joy in your life? In Wyoming, a man packs up his tools. He has just finished building a ramp for a woman who can no longer climb the steps into her home. The joy inside him grows just a little bit as she waves to him from the doorway while he puts his toolbox and miter saw into his pickup. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in his heart. In Florida, a tiny baby closes his eyes. He has just been fed and then rocked to sleep by his mother. The joy inside the baby grows just a little bit each time his mother holds him. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in his heart. In California, a woman weeds her garden. She doesn't speak much English, and it is difficult for her to find a job, even though she has many years of experience in different kinds of work. She is very new to this nation, but the joy inside her grows just a little bit each time she works in her garden. She is grateful to live in a place where there are no bombs, and it is not dangerous to grow vegetables and flowers. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in her heart. In Ohio, a young man sits on a street corner in the middle of the city. The man is selling bags of peanuts to people who pass by on a busy street. The man has cerebral palsy. He cannot speak clearly, but the joy inside him grows just a little bit whenever someone stops and talks to him and buys a bag of peanuts. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in his heart. In Georgia, a little girl sits at a table with a box of crayons and a piece of paper. The little girl is drawing a picture. The girl loves to draw, and she loves to give her pictures to people. The joy inside her grows a little bit each time she gives away one of her pictures. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in her heart. In Vermont, a man walks to the milking barn early in the morning. The sky is just beginning to get light as he begins to milk his herd of 60 dairy cows. The man takes good care of his cows, and the joy inside him grows just a little bit each time he lets the cows out of the barn into the pasture to spend the day eating sweet clover and green grass. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in his heart. In Missouri, a woman sits on her sofa, grading and making comments on essays written by students in her high school English class. The woman is 59 years old. Several of her former students are teaching in the school district alongside her, and she is thinking about retiring in a few years. But there is joy in her heart as she comments on the good work of her students. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in her heart. In Virginia, a man plays with his grandchildren. He never imagined things would turn out this way. A year ago, the man's daughter moved back home with her 2 little children. He was ready to retire, and his daughter needed to work, so he offered to take care of the children. He had no experience changing diapers or playing children's games, but the joy inside him grows a little bit each time one of his grandchildren calls out his name or reaches out to hold his hand. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in his heart. In Minnesota, an old woman sits in coffee hour. The people in the National Church have noticed something unusual about her small church in a small city. This one church has been unusually strong and has produced many new leaders over the past 20 years. The pastor of the church thinks it's partly because of this woman. Today in coffee hour, the old woman is talking to a young woman, telling her why the young woman's leadership as a lector is very important. A few months ago, the old woman was encouraging the teenager who serves as the head acolyte. Every time the woman appreciates the gifts of the people in the church, the joy inside her grows. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in her heart. In New York, a woman works at the Department of Motor Vehicles. Most of her customers are not really happy to be there, but she is polite and professional. The woman smiles and talks to the people who have come to get a driver's license or license plates, and the joy inside her grows each time she finishes helping someone and they say thank you and smile back at her. The joy is like a tiny seed stored in her heart. What are these tiny seeds? They are seeds of joy. These seeds are difficult to describe in exact terms. Like these mustard seeds, they are small. They are often difficult to see. If you are not listening carefully, you will not hear these seeds make a sound as they drop into the storehouse of seeds. What can these seeds do? They can change your life. Just like the mustard seeds, these seeds of joy have enormous potential. If you plant it, water it, and care for it properly, one of these mustard seeds, that you probably cannot see, can grow into a tree that provides shade on a hot summer day. If you use one of these seeds at the right time and in the right place, it can change life for the better. Where do they come from? They come from God. From God's people and from God's creation. Just like the mustard seeds, these seeds of joy are powerful. You know, if you have these tiny mustard seeds, even this little tiny collection that you cannot see in my jar, in your food, you will certainly know it. And if you look for and collect these seeds of joy in your life, you will certainly know it. No one else might be able to see. Sometimes people think they are clever and try to create their own joy. People can use lots of flashy lights and noisy sounds and new technology to try to create joy. But these seeds of joy only come from God. We can only find them when we work with God and with God's people and God's creation. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus tells us to pay attention to what kind of seeds we are gathering in our lives. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me. This man is trying to gather some seeds, but the seeds are not the kind of seeds he needs." Jesus says to him, "Take care. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Jesus did not say that possessions are actually bad, but possessions are not seeds that bring joy into our lives. Then Jesus told them a parable about a man who had many possessions. The man built bigger and bigger places to store all of his wealth. The problem was that the man was storing the wrong kinds of things. The man was not storing seeds of joy. What kinds of seeds are we storing in our lives? It doesn't make much difference what you do for work, or whether you are rich or poor, or how much you know. We just need to pay attention to the seeds we are storing. Like the song says, our Creator has this great desire for us to find and store seeds of joy. I call them seeds of joy for a reason. We do not create joy. We discover it. We receive joy. Joy is a gift from God. Take, for example, our fellowship time after worship. We share fellowship after worship, or as part of a small group at the church or at homes with families and friends. This is a vital time. This is a vital part of our mission. In our fellowship, we find the joy God has given us. But we do not create the joy. We can only create a place where God's seeds of joy can be found. Sometimes when you are younger, or sometimes when you are older, you realize God has given you some seeds of joy. Like this. No one else can see them. God has given us seeds of joy to plant in the world and to share with God's people. These seeds of joy are tiny, but they are powerful. When you plant one of these seeds of joy, it is very likely no one will notice it. Only God will notice it. People will not see because the seed is very tiny and it hardly makes a sound. When you open your heart and the seed drops into place. There are many times when you will deliberately plant one of these seeds of joy into another person's life and they will not even notice, at least not at first. They might not notice until the seed has begun to grow into a powerful, sturdy plant. Then they might say, wow, I wonder where that came from. They probably won't know that it was you who planted God's seeds of joy in their life. But you will not care. If it is a seed of joy, you know that you didn't make the seed in the first place. God gave you the seed. You were just storing it for a little while. Take time to find joy. Finding joy is part of being faithful. Where do you find joy in your life? Look for the places. Go out in search of the places where you will find joy. Gather the seed